ways to play like Chuck Berry. Number one, we're going to mix the minor with the major pentatonic scale patterns. And if you saw my video on Freddie King last time, you'll know we've already talked about this. The reason I'm bringing it up again is because it's such a common sound in rock, in blues, in country. So on Chuck Berry's song, Johnny Be Good, he's in the key of B flat. It's just a 12-bar blues pattern, and if you're unsure of what that is, go check out my video on Freddie King's song, I'm Tore Down, where we do a deeper dive into the 12-bar blues form. Now, Chuck Berry, favored these horn keys of B flat and E flat. So his song Roll Over Beethoven is in the key of E flat. And a lot of rock and blues music, guitar-based music, we tend to favor the keys of E or A because it gives us these great open string-based patterns. Not Chuck Berry. He thought more like a horn player. B flat and E flat were a couple of his go-to keys. No problem, we're going to find a B flat note on the 6th string, and it just so happens that's on fret 6. So let's start with the minor pentatonic pattern. That gives us this minor pentatonic pattern starting on that B flat root note. Great, that's one of the first patterns that many of us have learned or will learn on the guitar. Let's find our B flat major pentatonic pattern now. Root is still on the 6th fret of the 6th string. Now we can combine those two patterns and get this sort of hybrid scale. And if I focus on just the top 3 strings, which tends to be the strings we solo on, the hybrid scale would look and sound something like this. Played on its own, I don't find that particularly musical, but when we mix and match the notes from that hybrid scale, we can get a lick like this one right out of Johnny Be Good. And that sounds much better to my ears. Way number 2 to play like Chuck Berry. Use some double stop slides. So in our major or minor pentatonic scale patterns, or in the hybrid pattern that we talked about a minute ago, on the top 2 strings, we have fret 6 and fret 6 on the 1st and 2nd strings. What we can do when we have those 2 frets that are the same is play them as a double stop, meaning I'm just going to bar or flatten my index finger to cover both those strings. And to add some attitude, Chuck Berry would often slide into these double stops from 1 fret below. And that can give us the opening lick to Johnny Be Good. One other thing I'll point out here is we are playing this all down-picked to get that attack that we don't otherwise get with alternate picking. So as an example, if we alternate pick that lick, it has a slightly different sound, even though I'm playing the exact same things. And that different sound can come in really handy depending on what we want to do. If we're wanting to sound like Chuck Berry, we definitely want to downpick this. And way number 3 to play like Chuck Berry. We're going to do some unison bends. What that means is bending a note on one string to match the pitch of a note on another string. For example, in Johnny Be Good, he bends the 8th fret on the G string a whole step, or 2 frets distance on the guitar. So there's my 8th fret on the G string. I want to bend it to sound like the 10th fret on the G string. That's my target note. There we go. There's my whole step bend. Now, one interesting thing about the guitar is on adjacent strings, if we bend a whole step, that's the equivalent of that note under fret 6 on the B string. What Chuck Berry will do, and what a lot of rock and roll players would do, is bend that G string a whole step and then play the same note on the B string. Because the string gauges are slightly different, we'll have a slightly different timbre or tone color to the sound of that bent string as opposed to the B string, even though we're bending it to the same pitch. Another option that we can do is slide 2 frets higher on the G string and then go back to that same note or that same pitch on the B string. So in this example, I'm going to slide from fret 8 to fret 10 on the G string and then play fret 6 on the B string. 2 ways to get a slightly different sound and just add some color or some attitude to our playing. So go ahead, try these tips out for yourself, follow me, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.